Alright, and the next one on my list is Balder the Brave, Thor's, younger brother. Or is it his older brother? I'm thinking Balder is his younger brother. Or such. But Balder is a lot younger than Thor in the Marvel Comics universe, and yet Balder is actually, he's been portrayed as being very cool-headed and level-headed, and he's been shown to be a very highly skilled swordsman, and he's a very great elite warrior, and he's often been shown fighting alongside the Warriors 3. But what however, according to what I've seen, Balder is not really actually mentioned, at least for being in the Thor movie. And that kind of makes me ponder. It's like, are we going to see Balder at all, or is he going to be referenced? Maybe he'll be a cameo. But Balder is a character, he is one of the characters that doesn't understand Thor's. He's one of the few characters that actually understands why Thor likes Midgard. And he actually, in his brother's stead, guards Asgard during the Odin sleep and whatnot. But even then, sometimes younger brother needs big brother's help, even though he feels that he's quite sufficient and independent enough that he doesn't really need Thor's Thor's help. And oh, and by the way, just turn this around. In case you guys hear me sniffling, I'm just smelling the wrapper of my trident. I'm weird, alright? Anyway, it's just, in talking about Balder, there's not really much to say. However, unfortunately, Balder is the one who ends up taking over Asgard after it has moved to the entire state of Oklahoma in the current comics. And what's even more interesting is that because Thor had basically slew an undead corpse from like his great-great-uncle who he never knew, and that Loki elaborated all this, Balder unfortunately tells him after he kills him, because he was a king of Asgard, and one of the rules is that if you kill a king of Asgard, you are basically exiled and banished forever. Balder painfully tells Thor, it's like, hey, you gotta go. You killed the king, and Thor is like, he looks very painful, but he understands, and Balder, according to what I had last read, is currently ruling Asgard. So, yeah, excuse me. It's whatever, but speaking of Odin, Odin shall be played by Sir Anthony Hawkins. And, excuse me, I cannot talk tonight. He is actually, I'm looking forward to what he does. I think Anthony Hopkins will actually pull off Odin very, very well. And also, Odin is a very interesting character in that respect, because Odin, being an Asgardian god, he actually bedded an earth spirit. And because of that, Thor has very strong connections to Earth. So Thor is actually, he has basically got one half of the Asgardian lineage, but he's also got an Earth spirit lineage. So he is actually, it is actually because of that Thor is as powerful as he is. And also, Odin had to slay his own brother, who was Loki's father. And he ends up, and he was actually originally going to kill Loki or throw him off of a cliff, but he took pity on the boy, so he took him in and tried to raise him as his own. However, Loki, having that frost giant blood, he just looked at, he knew that Odin wasn't his real father, and many times he has tried to upset, if not kill, Odin in retaliation. for his father's revenge, or basically upsert Thor and try to make him look bad in front of Odin. And it's one thing after another. So, but to get to the gist of it, Odin is probably one of the most powerful people in the Marvel Universe. This is a guy who is just as powerful as Galactus. Like, Odin basically has enough power that he could repair any damage to the entire universe. He could basically wipe out all of Earth with just a thought or even a fart or anything such like that. So Odin is an extremely powerful person. This is a guy who could probably even put the hurt on Galactus. So, yeah. And Odin wields what's called the Odin Force, which is basically the life force of the entire universe. It's a very powerful form of energy. And in using this energy to rule and defend Asgard, every once in a while during at least one whole year here on Earth or whatever, and I say whatever because, there's been many different documentations of it, but Odin enters what's called the Odin sleep, where he must sleep for almost practically a whole entire day or two to replenish his power. And it's during this time that Asgard is very vulnerable. So, and when Odin wakes up, almost like a new year in Asgard is basically reborn. So, Odin, when he's in the Odin sleep, he is completely vulnerable. He can be killed, he can be maimed, he can be crippled, he can be whatever. Because he's basically in a coma. And there are many people that would love to upsert Odin and take over Asgard and destroy it. So, that in a sense is Odin's greatest weakness, is that he has to at least once in a while, go to the Odin sleep. And that's pretty much it for Boulder, and that is it for Odin. And now, I thought about talking about a couple of other characters, but you know what? Some of these characters, there's not much information on them, or, I feel that the Chris Hemsworth movie is gonna, probably explain a little bit more, or maybe explain some of the things that I've already talked about, but I'm going to talk about the last of Thor's allies, and probably the greatest of his allies, and then that will be it for this series.